having a wee conversation there.
A bit of a debate.
What a debate about things.
We're
This
masters
and
at
that.
that. We're
You know.
masters at that debate.
Hello, Michael W. Kelly. Welcome in if you're still here.
Hello and welcome into this Wednesday's edition of Movie News here at MBE. We'd just like to thank you once again for joining us here on our YouTube channel, of course our Twitch stream. It's been a long time since I've been in front of the camera, John, almost a week.
Yes.
I know that you...
Thank norovirus for that.
Well, I watched the show last night, obviously your solo show, and you were talking about it, John, in terms of missing in action for our Sunday recordings. We're going to be doing it right after this, so we've kept this show down to one topic. We'll see how it goes. We've already done 10 minutes of this show according to our live kind of... We're getting into a heated debate there. Yeah, so we're talking about one of our favourite actors of all time, Nicolas Cage, and he's explaining why he turned down roles in Lord of the Rings and the Matrix movie franchises. It's really just a sort of in our roads to what to talk about, the unbearable weight of massive talent, which comes out in 2 days' time, John.
Basically what you're saying, Stephen, is I'm having everyone on with that thumbnail.
Yeah.
He turned down these roles.
Yeah.
No, Nick Cage did not turn down the role of Morpheus or Neo or Trinity, and certainly not Gandalf. Not Gandalf the Grey, not Gandalf the White, not Gandalf whatever.
I can imagine
Not
Nicolas
Radagast.
Cage try to slip into those leathers, but Trinity's leathers, that is. I think he'd pull it off.
I bet he could. I bet he would. He likes leather.
Yeah.
Double entendre.
Yeah.
To say it the French way. Stephen,
Well,
he could have played Radagast. We'll get into it.
We will, John, but in a recent interview with People, Cage has revealed exactly why he decided to turn down roles in both Lord of the Rings and The Matrix. While the version of Cage in Massive Talent is looking for the next film to reboot his acting career, the real Cage always puts his family first. Cage has stated that there is no version of him that didn't... I love this quote. Once I get to it, it's going to be quite funny. He's talking to himself in the third person. Has stated that there's no version of him that didn't put family first over career. For Cage, the fact that Lord of the Rings would have relocated him away from his family to New Zealand for 3 years, and The Matrix would have done the same but to Australia, was not worth the experience of being in these movies. This is what he said. It's a very short and sweet comment, John, but he said, and I'm not going to do it in Nicolas Cage's accent, we could have got Gianni on to do this.
Foremost, there's no version of Nick Cage in reality.
That's actually not too bad.
Nah, it's terrible.
It's not too bad. First and foremost, there's no version of Nick Cage in reality that doesn't want to spend time with his children. There's no version of Nick Cage that didn't put his family first over career. I turned down Lord of the Rings, I turned down Matrix because I didn't want to go to New Zealand for 3 years or Australia for 3 years because I needed to be home with my son Weston. That's a fact.
Weston
That's a
Cage.
fact, yeah. John,
He's a great guy, man.
This was part of the debate before we came on air. We were talking about what role would he have played in both these franchises. What was your guesses, John? What was your...
Yeah, I mean, Stephen, for Lord of the
ideas?
Rings, there's a few, to be fair. He could have played Radagast. Radagast was in, I believe, the Lord of the Rings as a sort of side role.
Is this the role that Sylvester McCoy...
Sylvester McCoy, he
in
was
The
a
Hobbit?
bigger role
Yeah.
in The Hobbit. I think Gandalf went off and spoke to him. He always was scurrying around Muckwood.
Yeah.
And obviously we
Yeah,
had the
yeah, that'd
shadow
been
of
interesting, yeah.
Muckwood. We had Sauron was down there. And Dol Guldur, I believe it was. So he was a bigger role in that. But it was implied that I think Gandalf had been away and spoken. And also just, he spoke to Saruman. We see that in the actual movies. We see that in the book. He was a part of the story, Stephen Radagast. He was a more gentle, more earthly kind of wizard, or Maya, I believe they are called. And he could speak to birds. He was a man of the animals, if you like, a man of nature. I could imagine Nick Cage playing that character and playing it very well, because he's got that about him. He's a simple, humble man. You can see it in the quote. He loves his family. He's all about his son. He's sacrificed potentially being a part of two massive, iconic, revolutionary trilogies. I'm not putting The Matrix in the same breath as The Lord of the Rings. You must.
The first film, possibly.
You have to stress.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Tolkien fan.
Yeah.
And I would never, ever say that The Matrix, as much as I enjoyed it as a kid, is even worthy of being in the same conversation as The Lord of the Rings. It is not. But the first Matrix movie was revolutionary, and it was fucking a big franchise, Stephen.
Yeah.
In the early 2000s. I remember, man. Evanescence, was it? All that soppy emo shit coming out at the same time. I can't even think of the song. You know what I'm talking? There was a
Yeah.
song back then.
Yeah.
It was paired with one of the
Yeah, it
movies.
was always on MTV. I always remember that. Yeah.
It was for that era. It was
Yeah.
massive. But Stephen, I could have seen him playing Radagast. In terms of the Matrix, I mean, that's a tougher one. He could have really played anybody in that, Stephen. He could have, anybody could have
Do
been.
you know who I'm going to say?
Yeah.
And it's both franchises.
I know you mentioned one.
Actually, I changed my mind because once I figured out who I think he would have played in Lord of the Rings, I think perhaps maybe Elrond, which means Agent Smith in The Matrix.
Stephen,
Hugo
tell
Weaving's
you what,
characters.
I tell you what, it's
Yeah.
not a bad show,
Yeah.
man. Because we've seen the guy being fucking crazy in movies before,
Yeah.
and there's an air of craziness to Agent Smith. In terms of Elrond, there's an air of craziness to that guy. Perhaps not, but he is a bit eccentric.
Yeah.
He's been locked up in the house of Rivendell.
But it would need someone like a Hugo Weaving / Nick Cage, that kind of versatility, isn't it, to play both those roles.
Stephen, look, we've maintained on this channel, we've spoke a lot about Nick Cage over the last couple of weeks and months. I think we ended up getting into a conversation about him when Gianni came on for the first time,
Yeah.
because he also put Pig, I think it was, in there.
Number 2, yeah.
We says that we love Nick Cage on this channel. There will be no hatred of Nicolas. He's a esteemed actor who's went off and done a different kind of career, the second part of his career, if you like, the last 15 years or so. It's been a bit more B-movie, a bit more straight to VOD.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine, that's his choice. And he says he's not ashamed of him, he loves every single movie he's been in. He thinks he's gave a good performance in every movie, and I'd agree with that.
Yeah.
But he's a fucking great actor.
Yeah,
He's an Academy Award winning actor. People forget that.
We
They
talked
like
about
making the
that
butt of the joke.
succession in the sort of mid-90s to the late 90s. Film after film was just an absolute massive hit, wasn't it?
You can get into the early 2000s, he had a right few good movies in there.
Yeah.
So he's a great actor, and what I'm saying with that is he could have played
John,
an Elrond quite well.
I really want to see him in the last Quentin Tarantino film. I really want to see him in some capacity, and I think he's a kind of actor that would work well with Quentin Tarantino as well. I've already seen it with Travolta, so
I want to see him playing a variant of fucking, I don't know, Superman.
Yeah.
In a multi-earth sort of story.
Yeah. I think he's going
in
to...
DC, because I know he nearly played it.
Well, we talked about, I don't know how long ago it was, John, maybe a month or so ago on Movie News, we were talking about that he was wanting to play certain characters in DC and obviously Marvel as well. And,
it was Eggman or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
He wanted to play the villain. He had an idea, and he says to the reporter at some junket, pitch this to Warner Brothers, I'm intrigued, I'd like to do it, I think I could do a good job.
Yeah.
So he's got an ear for the theatrics.
Well, he's got a knowledge of comic book as well. He's a massive comic book fan, John. I don't know if he ever appeared on the Collider comic book, the show they did where they went and shopped. I know that Michael Rooker was on it one time with the late great John Schnepp, and I think Robert Meyer Burnett perhaps took over from him, and then your guy Coy
Chandru, he's brilliant, very knowledgeable.
Well. Very knowledgeable, John. I don't know if he's appeared on any of those episodes. I would imagine he's the kind of guy that would really fit into that sort of
just depends,
format.
Stephen, on if he's in California, because this is a guy who's been known to pop up in pubs in England.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about major cities here, I'm talking about small towns in England.
Village pubs,
fucking pops into pubs and has a pint. So he's a humble man of the people. That's why I went with Radagast. Stephen, I think it just speaks volumes about this guy's selflessness. Much like, look, I've been watching the whole Johnny Depp stuff the last couple of days. Johnny's been up taking the stand in his trial against Amber Heard. And the one thing that comes out about Johnny is his honesty. He's pure of heart. I'm not going to go off on tangents and speak about that, because I've shared my thoughts on that in this channel quite enough. I'm Team Johnny to the day I die. But you hear this guy speaking about his personal life from a young kid to 11 and up, his early movie roles, his battle with the demons and fame and not liking being recognised, and removing himself from that, and removing himself from maybe some roles he doesn't think he fits into. And I get the same vibe with Nick Cage.
Yeah.
He's a man who will always put him and his first over maybe fame, being connected to the Hollywood studios and being an A-list star. He will put him and himself and his family first over that. He's not addicted to fame. He's not a fame whore, if you
Funnily
like.
enough, he did a film called The Family Man. which we're doing a television series
We
watch
are.
along at the moment. We're going to be doing it after this show. John, I was just reading the synopsis of The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, and it says a cash-strapped Nicolas Cage agrees to make a paid appearance at a billionaire superfan's birthday party, but is really an informant for the CIA since the billionaire fan is a drug kingpin and gets cast in a Tarantino movie. So there you are. Obviously, this stars Pedro Pascal's in there. Neil Patrick Harris, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Pedro Pascal. Yeah. Have you not seen the trailer, John? No,
I've not.
I think you have
seen
to.
the trailer.
I think you'd have to do a trailer reaction on that. I can't because I've already
I don't know if
seen
I
it
have
a few
seen the
times.
trailer. I
It's
covered it. Yeah, I did
It's
cover
a
it.
fantastic trailer. So funny. 2 days it's coming out. Certainly, I'll be watching this. 8 out of 10 on IMDb. I know that our good friend and fellow, we can call her fellow movie burner because she's an honorary movie burner. Sin from Sin's Corner is going to be seeing this film this week, and The Northman she mentions as well.
The Northman,
And
I'm really looking forward
she's going to be reviewing them, so I'm going to be watching Sin's take on both these films, John.
Steve, I'm just without repeating myself, I'm so happy to see him rebounding to more mainstream eyeballs, because he's been doing this kind of zany different work over the last few years, getting plaudits for it, to be fair. He's on a roll. I'm just glad to see he's now getting more respect again in the mainstream. Not that he cares for it, as I says, he's a man. It's very much about his own journey.
Yeah.
He doesn't really care if it connects with mainstream, connects with Hollywood studios, connects with awards, glitz, glam. I mean, care, respect maybe from certain individuals. But I'm just glad that he's getting it anyway. There's people like Pedro Pascal going in and working with him, saying it's the best they've ever had.
Yeah.
Time they've ever had in a set and stuff like that. He's so knowledgeable, such a funny guy. I'm glad the world, maybe a new generation, are starting to connect with this guy potentially and see what he's all about, because his knowledge is off the charts, man. He knows his movies. His acting talent has never been in question.
No.
And he's just a hilarious different individual. We need more quirky, eccentric, different people on the planet. In a world that's becoming more and more beige and the same and Kardashian-esque and we're all wearing the same shit and thinking the same way, commercialised, eating the same crap out of fast food joints and stuff like that. We need more people dancing to the beat of a different drum,
I'm going to just rhyme off some of his early films and and you can tell me what you think. Probably from, well, I mean, we can go really back.
We should do a one-word answer.
It's very hard when you say, from 1987. Peggy Sue Get Married as well, of course, from the year before. But Raising Arizona was probably
fantastic movie.
That was the film that kind of took notice of him. But
fantastic movie.
I think perhaps it wasn't till the early 90s. I think he was in a film called Trapped in Paradise, and Dana Carvey from Wayne's World was in that too with. Was it John Lovitz? I can't remember, but it was a Christmas film. It was a good film.
Dana's a guy that's quite Marmite, isn't he?
Yeah,
he gets sucker punched in New York a couple of months ago.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
right.
he was like walking and some random guy went up and punched him. He was alright, but
I like
people
him.
seem to hate him.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like his films. I think he's a very talented actor, comedic actor. But John, then you've got the likes of Leaving Las Vegas.
Yeah, Oscar win.
The Rock.
Yeah.
Con Air, Face Off.
And Stephen, you're seeing the real chameleon-like figure that he is when you're listening to those movies. Leaving Las Vegas, a movie about a tragic alcoholism, how it damages an individual. Wins an Oscar for it. Really drama-driven performance. You go to The Rock, it's like a real...
Yeah.
I don't want to say a callback, but it's like a proper action movie, man. Heist kind of movie. They don't make movies like that now.
No.
They kind of done them, but they were on steroids and ridiculous and sci-fi set in the 80s. You'd need to go back to maybe like the 60s to get shit like that with like Paul Newman's and Robert Redford.
Steve McQueen.
Yeah. It was one of those kind of movies. For me, The Rock is... I know people maybe look at it, but Ed Harris is in there, and I love Ed Harris, man.
Sean Connery,
Sean Connery, my very own, in there. There's something about it, it's got an aura to it. I love that movie.
Something about Con Air. I think we reviewed that, didn't we?
Yeah, it's just
hilarious.
Sure
we did. And I know the director followed us on Twitter for a while.
Did he?
Yeah, then he dropped us like a hot potato. But don't blame you, mate. But John, Con Air for me was one of the best action films of the late 90s. And I think it was just purely because it didn't take itself too serious. And it was fantastic.
Nothing makes me sadder when what is it? The pilot lost his bladder on the aeroplane.
And you got that sort of rapport with John Cusack and I always forget the Irish fella's name.
Cole Meany. Yeah.
That, you know, just hating each other's guts. You know, fuck you, dictionary boy. That kind of. Just there's a lot of pattern in it.
Did you have Danny Trejo in there?
Danny Trejo was in it, but I didn't like him. He was an absolute creep in it.
He was, he was a rapist, wasn't he?
But there was so many standout moments in that film, you know. And then
who was the pilot?
The pilot was.
He was in the X-Files episode, wasn't he?
He was also in Breakdown. No, it was. He was in X-Files. He was in Breakdown as well. He was the guy that Kurt Russell duct taped his neck and kept breaking and choking him.
Yeah,
I can't remember his name. He's a really good character actor. Face Off, John. We talked about the other week there. We're talking about the sequel.
That was the perfect age for that movie.
Yeah.
Perfect age.
Yeah.
It was kind of sci-fi. It was dark. It was twisted. I grew up in a sort of diet of Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, Tim Curry's Pennywise. Fucking haunted me. Arachnophobia, RoboCop, all those kind of movies. I love that shit.
But then you go to City of Angels, which is a different genre once again. You know, you've got that kind of romantic element in it.
Stephen can do it.
Yeah, Snake Eyes,
yeah.
8mm, which is a fantastic film. One of my dad's favourite Nick Cage films from 1999.
And Stephen, you said it there, multi-generational in his appeal.
Yeah,
you've got young kids that can like him. I was young
at
that point.
His career spans over nearly 40 years, so you've got generations watching his stuff. You've got Bringing Out the Dead, Gone in 60 Seconds. There's The Family Man there from 2000. Captain Corelli's Mandolin, which a lot of people obviously enjoyed. And then you've got you know, he did a lot of voice work on the likes of the Ant Bully and things like that.
But I love the Ant, by the way. I know it's probably terrible now, but I was obsessed with that movie as a little kid. I had the video game.
Yeah.
Sure it was. There was 2 movies out.
Lord of War as well, John.
Lord of War, one of the greatest openings of a movie. The journey of this bullet from manufacturing into a gun.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And then obviously The Wicker Man, which I think Nick says himself was played for laughs. Was it?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, I don't believe it. I did not misfile, not once. Not once.
And then you've got Ghost Rider, John. I think you did 2 Ghost Riders, didn't you?
I wasn't a huge fan of Ghost Rider, I'm not going to lie. It was round about this point.
Was it 2, or was it just the 1?
I think it was just the 1.
Just the 1, yeah.
Yeah, just the 1.
Yeah. Don't know where I got that from. I'm looking at IMDb,
maybe you
and I still
got
it. Yeah, maybe I did. Sure.
I wasn't a huge fan of Ghost Rider, but again, he's tapping into comic book. He's trying to do something different, and that was probably before the likes of Iron Man. Or was it after Iron Man, 2008ish, 9ish?
It was 2007. It was just previous.
Before.
Yeah.
So I mean, he was dabbling with it back then. So his love of comic book.
John, do you like The Knowing?
I do like The Knowing. Yeah. I do.
I thought it was great. I thought it was a good concept. It's one of those ones I know is not going to kind of maintain that sort of level of intrigue and interest for the whole film. They've got to have a payoff, and I felt it was the only way they could really do it was aliens and that kind of thing.
Was The Knowing the one where it was premonitions? The little kid pulls something out of time.
It was something like out of the X-Files,
and it's like blonde fucking aliens come and take them away at the end.
That's exactly.
I enjoyed that a lot. I really did like that movie.
I think the Earth's come to an end, and
it was him piecing it together. He was a teacher, wasn't he, or something like that, and he started piecing all of these numbers and symbols together.
2010, Kick-Ass. He plays Damon McCready, also known as Big Daddy. It's one of those performances, John, that makes Kick-Ass an even better film. If Nicolas Cage isn't in it, it's still a great film, but he takes it to another level with that performance, and also doing it in the style of Adam West's Batman, that kind of broken up his sentences when he's speaking, you know. We know where to find you, that kind of thing, you know. I thought it was great, and I thought his sort of rapport with Chloe Grace Moretz as well, who was only, I don't know, 8 or 9 at the time.
Yeah, she was young.
She played that role.
Well, I mean, she's like early 20s or something now, so yeah.
Yeah, it was 12 years ago, so that would be about right.
Yeah, about 12, 13 or something.
Fantastic as well, wasn't it?
It was, Stephen. Look, man, it's a Scottish comic. It's
he did play Ghost Rider again. Yeah.
Oh, he did? There you go.
Yeah.
You were right,
Scottish
Stephen.
comic. Yeah, John.
It's a Scottish comic. It's a comic strip from our very own land. And there was something just different about it, man. You were getting the more sort of serious edge of Marvel coming out at that point. It started off with Iron Man. It was very light-hearted. It was a single story of a single man, a philanthropist becoming a hero. Unlikely. You were starting to get by that point. When was it Kick-Ass was out? You say it was what?
2010.
2010. So it was maybe just before Avengers, to be fair. But you would have had some movies coming out at that point. That was a different kind of comic book movie, in a same way as maybe a Deadpool was different with the R-rated, talking to the camera, breaking the fourth wall stuff. It was hilarious. not taking itself too serious. You had Aaron Taylor-Johnson in there, probably just Aaron Johnson at that point. That was his name, wasn't it? It was Aaron Taylor. It was just Aaron Johnson.
I think it was Aaron Taylor by that point. I think when he did Nowhere Boy,
Mm-hmm.
that's when he met his wife, because she was the director.
Fucking hell, that's crazy. So he's been
Yeah.
that for a long time.
Yeah.
You had all these big personalities in there, but for him to stand out as in that role, again, it showed you the man's intimate knowledge of comics, of Batman, and the clear inspiration for Big Daddy was Batman, obviously.
Yeah.
And then the tragedy in there at the end, that showed you the acting ability of this guy.
John, it's one of my favourite scenes in the
It's
film.
the best scene in the
Yeah.
whole movie, Stephen.
It's one
Not
of
an action
those moments, the whole torture execution scene in that film, and Nicolas Cage again took it to another level with the way he went out. It was just, it's that way where it's like hairs on your arms stand up.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a fantastic performance.
And it was the end of that bond with him and his daughter, obviously.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
was she going to go after that?
That's
That was
it,
a
yeah.
make or break
Yeah.
moment. All good comic origin stories have that. And it might not necessarily have been for actual title or hero kick-ass. It was actually for Hit Girl at that point.
It was,
She gets
yeah.
the tragedy of a Peter Parker losing his aunt or his uncle. It was that sort of emotional sucker punch. And it showed you they were able to go dark and deep in that movie. And
Yeah.
in the midst of all the hilarity, the music, the sort of back and forth, stupid fucking names and stuff like that, it was there. They can go into the deep
Yeah.
recesses. So, and it was Nick Cage that took it there. Again, showing you his acting ability. This is why he could have played any performance he wanted. This is why the likes of Peter Jackson were coming after this guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
Yeah.
they know their film. Quentin Tarantino's know their film. They know what this guy's all about. The Joe public may think he's a joke. They don't. Because they know what the guy can bring in terms of performance. But Stephen, you've been through his filmography there, man. And it stands
Oh,
the
John,
test of time.
there was big gaps I left out. We'd be here all night. The guys did so much, you know,
Yes.
in the last 4 decades, you know, and we could really just dedicate a whole couple hours to talking about
We
Nicolas
could, yeah.
Cage.
But
But
Stephen, we used to do that.
We-
We
yeah.
used to do that. We used to do that in our original podcasting days.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
We need
yeah.
to do that at some point, actually,
Yeah,
instead of maybe
maybe
dedicate a day to talking
just
about an
talking
actor.
about an actor. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go down the
Kurt
rabbit
Russell. Jeez, oh, we could. I think that's a possibility.
Yeah,
I think
man.
that
we done.
we could abandon another live show to do that. Can we? We could do it live, I
We could do
suppose.
it
But
live,
yeah,
Gene Wilder, we done him, didn't we? I had the chance to go back and watch what was it called now? The Frisco Kid, was
Frisco
it?
Kid with Harrison
With
Ford.
Harrison
yeah.
Ford. What
yeah.
a movie, man. I got to watch him with, I think it was Donald Sutherland. Some mental separated at birth twin story where two are in aristocracy and two are absolute paupers, and they come together and it's absolute fucking crazy.
We did Jim
But it was
Carrey as
brilliant.
well.
We did Jim Carrey.
Edited very well. As I recall.
I kept speaking about Liar Liar.
Yeah.
If I recall correctly, Stephen's moving 10 years ahead. I kept going back to Liar Liar. So I had to go in and like, dissect it all and do it
Rearrange it.
sequentially.
Yeah.
And you couldn't tell at all. Such as my editing skills. My editing skills were good. It was just the audio was shit. Hopefully it's a bit better now. And if we ever have strokes and maybe regress back to that stage, and hopefully we don't touch wood, then I know that I've got the audio now that I can actually get away with it. But Stephen, man, in terms of Nick, man, he would have felt at home in the likes of a Lord of the Rings and a Matrix, because he's a chameleon of an actor. You've rhymed off his entire filmography there. Well, leaving gaps, obviously, in more recent movies that have maybe not been watched
Yeah,
because
it was bullet point the sort of
Yeah,
standouts, wasn't it?
But what you did there is you showed the guy. Echo there. What you did was show his diversity in his roles. He can do humour, he can do comedy, I should say, he can do romance, he can do drama. He can do everything in the one role. So there is no reason he couldn't have went and done a sort of revolutionary action movie like Matrix in '99 or whenever it came out.
Yeah.
Or went in and a sort of sci-fi epic of Peter Jackson's John Ronald Reuel, Tolkien's. And it's not Tolkien, it's Tolkien. 'Cause that's how Christopher Lee said it.
Yeah.
And he was pals with the guy. So I listened to Christopher. He would have been at home in both of those movies if he'd chose to do it. But once again, he's a man of his family, a man of himself, of his own journey. He beats his own drum. And he decided to knock it back. And Stephen, ultimately, we had the conversation before we came on, and you were bang on what you says. I think it worked out well for both parties in the end.
Yeah. Yep.
The Matrix was The Matrix. It was a fantastic movie. Couldn't really fault the casting choices they ultimately landed upon. Keanu Reeves as Neo, Carrie-Anne Moss as Trinity, Lawrence Fishburne as Morpheus, whoever the fuck else played those other characters, Hugo Weaving as Agent Smith, the other ones
Yeah.
that were in there, Jada Pinkett
Switch.
Smith, they were in there. You wouldn't
Yeah.
replace them. And then you go over to the Lord of the Rings, man. Who the fuck do you replace there? That was just like They seem to have picked like, the greatest casting director that's ever walked the earth. It's like a messiah figure for those movies. We spoke about Carl Urban. Urbane. Everybody, man. Viggo Mortensen, Billy Boyd, fucking Dominic Monaghan, fucking
Orlando
them all, man.
Don't forget Orlando, jeez.
I will never forget Orlando, man. That guy framed my childhood. I fucking love that guy. What a man. I'm in awe of him when he's not ball naked on a surfboard on the beach. What are you doing, Orlando? Come on. You wouldn't replace him, that's what I'm saying. So it worked out well for all parties. Nick has had an esteemed career. It's went the way he wanted it, and those movies worked out perfectly. He just doesn't get a tattoo, that's all. Doesn't get the ring. Doesn't get to have a ring tattooed on him. But he's got his own ring. Yeah. As well have.
Okay. When done that?
I thought I'd go there. I just don't care. I do not give a shit. What is your thoughts though, man? What do you make of the life and story, the career of Nicolas Cage? Are you a fan of Nick? Because we've almost turned this, I was about to say into an obituary, but the man's still alive. He's still alive. Yeah. It's almost a tribute of Nick Cage. And we've been speaking a lot about him, and it's almost just, it's in a sense, an anticipatory build-up to this movie that's coming out, because he's working with a great talent in Pedro Pascal. It's a great concept. It's something we've seen done in an Alan Partridge TV show, and we fucking loved it in that. This sort of uneasiness of fanaticism walks a very, I'm trying to think of the word here, slippery precipice. You can slide down, it could be really bad. He could be trying to choke you out and get Chester out of you. Or he could be really pushing you. He could be pushing you to be something better.
Just a fan, Alan.
Just a fan. No way, get off of me. I can't see it. It's Alan Partridge, that's Steve Coogan. Yeah. You can comment down below if you get anything to say, though, man, about a general comment about Nick Cage, about his choice to knock back Lord of the Rings and Matrix. How did you think it worked out in the end? Would the movies have been made better by the presence of a man? Or do you agree with us that it all ultimately worked out well? Everything works out the way it's supposed to work out. Life is but a journey. You get in one car, you get out another, you get in one car, you get out another, one door opens up another. Yeah. Shut. It's all meant to be. If you don't believe in free will, you can comment down below if you have anything to say as well, though, about anything. The weather, Assy man, we'll take it down below in the comment section. Also, like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, hit a bell icon to get notifications straight to your eyeballs. Hit the follow button over on Twitch, hit the notification button over there as well to get notifications of when we go live over there, because we are over there. Believe me, although you wouldn't fucking believe it, because no one watches over there. I think there's one person. Regardless of what you do though, thank you once again for watching, and until the next time, me and Stephen are done. Bye bye.